Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of PRT. I'm your host, Lorenzo, and this is Matt. And today, welcome with me a very special duo, special guests tonight, Trevor and Yvette, and they're from Ink to Scalp SMP Studios. So we have a really great show lined up for you guys. So welcome, Trevor. Welcome, Yvette. Thank you for coming on to the show.
First time with 4 people. I'm excited.
Right?
Excited.
They work.
This is a great setup.
Yeah.
Good.
Want to welcome you to the show, but right off the bat, give us a little bit of a better understanding of what Ink to Scalp is. What is your business that you guys do?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Do you want to go?
Sure. So our business has two kind of aspects. The first aspect is, again, the focus of the art. And so we place thousands of the illusion of follicles onto a bald man or thinning man's head. The flip side to that is the positive change that just that artistry gives to our clients. Mm-hmm. And so we see just magnificent change just from what we think is a passionate art of ours to having somebody, walk a little taller, smile a little bigger, all those types of things. So it's a very nice, holistic business, I guess, to be into.
Yeah, so the technical part is really, obviously the focus, the making sure that what we execute is high quality and realistic. And it's, it changes a lot of people's lives. So
through art, you almost instill self-confidence.
Yeah, definitely. And again, that's kind of our goal or our brand is to make sure that, gentlemen are coming in that half the time or majority of the time are already confident guys. They just, they eat right, they work out, and there's just that one thing that they can't change on their own.
Right.
And that's where we step in and to Scalp and help them.
You can't eat more broccoli and get more hair, right? So it's like
I've been trying.
Right.
So it's the one thing that to kind of sometimes people just feel more complete. It's like the one thing they can't control, right? So we give them a little piece back, I guess.
Okay, so that's what you do. How did you get into this? This is like, was this something you had to go to school for? Were you guys tattoo artists? Were you doing stuff like this before?
Right.
Good question.
Bring us back a few years or however long it took.
Yeah, so we've been actually in the game for about close to 5 years now. But everything has a starting point. And that starting point was, me losing my hair at 23. Yvette and I getting to be together and dating, and I took off my hat one day and I was so nervous. I took all my hair off and she's like, I love it. You look fantastic. And at the time at 23, I was thinning, but not bald yet in my head.
Okay.
I met her family and it was like meeting my people. I walked in and every single one of the men, all purely bald. I'm like, I feel safe. This is great for me.
This is my crew.
But as time went on, I just started to realize I'm not just thinning now. I am becoming very bald. And one day Yvette came home. She's like, look, I tattooed my eyebrows. I went to somebody and so I went one time with her and just to kind of see what this is about. Yeah. And jokingly, I said to the lady, I said, can you not just take that and just tattoo some hair on my head? She goes, actually, it is a thing. It's real. I don't do it. It's a whole different technique and all different strategies, which kind of put a spark in our head. And then we went to the US and all that kind of stuff. So it was helping just kind of getting to know the industry and leveraging on her art background and things like that. So we went through some training. Or Yvette is our master and most senior artist. Okay. And so it was from that experience that kind of led us to going, there is something that actually could be done. But here in Ontario, this is very rare.
Yeah, it wasn't very common when we were looking into it. And some of the best was in like the UK and in the States. So we thought, well, if we want to be the best at something, let's go to the best. So we went out to the States and we ended up going out there a couple different times to level up our training and things. Right. And then, and then we started sort of just doing it here. And it was more a word of mouth thing. And I just really enjoyed it. I was good at it. It let me execute my little artistic side. And but that was all it was really starting out to be, is I'm enjoying it, let's just kind of start out like that, and little by little, you know, here we are 5 years later.
So yeah, being subject zero.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then,
I was like, I knew he trusted me.
Who do we find next? How do we do that? And to convince men to do something cosmetic for themselves, or to make themselves feel better, or whatever it is, you still are like, yeah, hey buddy, can I tattoo your head? That's a very weird conversation to have with somebody.
Right.
One thing you said that actually both of you, first off, how it kind of started out as like a hobby-ish, you know, for you. I feel like that happens a lot in businesses and entrepreneurship. You don't, I mean, obviously people want to make money doing something they love, but it's a lot of things do progress from just a hobby. But something you said is like another trait that entrepreneurs have is kind of seizing opportunity and solving problems. Like the saying goes, you want to make money, solve a problem. You want to make big money, solve a big problem. And for you made the joke about, you know, solving the problem you had on your head, and but you said it as a joke, but essentially that's the key, is like, if you can make people will pay money to fix their problems, you know, and if people consider that a problem, they'll pay money for it. So it solved your problem. You could turn it into a business, which you've done. So I mean, from an early age, you had that entrepreneur trait in you, clearly, right, to know this could work.
Well, it's a nice balance between Yvette and I. Obviously, Yvette being my partner in life and in business, we work really well together. And I think sometimes her restraint on things is helpful, because maybe I might be jumping too soon, too quickly of an idea or a strategy or something. So it is a very nice balance.
Yin and yang.
We kind of like, we stay, you know, in our lanes, and we sort of know what we're both best at. And we, you know, collaborate and chat about next steps all the time, but I think we do balance each other out really well. So we just focus on that, right?
That's good. That's super important, especially like being a couple, you're a unit, you know, as like a family, but then beyond that, you're also running a business. Any takeaways, anything that you would like to share? Like, how do you guys keep it like going, that things are good? Like,
does it get tough? Living.
Sure. It's so hard to say like one thing, like, you know, we make sure we do this or we do that. I think like every day is sort of a different day.
Right.
Take it day by day. Yeah.
I think our focus is always like each other and our family, and then everything else outside of that, we always, you know, make that time, but then it also has to like sort of stop at some point too, to balance it a little. So but that's very hard to do too.
I think what ultimately us being a couple can only benefit our business to work more efficiently. And also every client she works on, I know his entire history because I've met him and I've talked to him about the understanding of hair loss. I've talked to him about the process. I've talked to him about the skilled hands he's in, and vice versa for my clients. Yvette knows the client, the story, their history. And so it moves away from really, we're doing the art, we're doing the business, but the emotional connection that we have with our clients is really rooted in, I guess we have a tagline, but we don't have a tagline. We never talk about confidence or what our business can provide, what you're lacking. Our tagline, I would say, is, if you could change it, would you? And we felt like that was the best approach, because it's not saying you need it.
You're not implying anything.
If you want something.
Or you're lacking something like confidence. Because the
Yeah.
majority of the guys that come, honestly, that's not their thing. And
they're talented, they're successful,
yes, they
they're
are
already
well-rounded.
handsome. We're just
For sure.
refining it just a little bit.
And so we wanted to always focus on, like, if it's something that you could change, would you change it? That is just a question to ask yourself. Not that we're dictating it's something that you need, but ask yourself that question. If you could, would you?
I love that, because even, I mean, different topic, but even if you're in a disagreement with someone or in an argument, the best way to get your point across is to ask a question versus like trying to drill in their head, like, I'm right, you're wrong. Just ask, you probe questions to get them to understand. And it's like, and that's not, I'm not saying that's what you're trying to do, but it's the same concept. It's like, here's a question. Does it apply to you? Does it apply to you? Yes, exactly. Yes or no? If not, you know, if it does down the road, we're here. Right. So that's cool. It's a smart tactic in a sense, right? Because you don't offend anyone, whereas you still offer the service. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
But we do always have those groups of Men and women, because we do
Yes.
work on women as
Yep.
well.
That was my next question. Yeah. Okay.
We do work on women as well. And a lot of people are nervous not only about the change, but also the pain going through the process, you know, because you're there for 3 hours, 2 hours. And
Is it a one-time thing, or is it?
It's a good question.
no, it's you come multiple times. So generally 3 times, sometimes a 4th. Most often it's 3, and at each session it's 3 hours. And that can be, especially for somebody who doesn't have any ink on them,
Yeah.
right? Who's somebody that does, they might have an idea, although this is a lot less painful than a standard tattoo.
Is it? Okay. Good to know.
But it, you know, still the unknown for somebody who doesn't have any tattoos or anything can be really scary, right?
Right.
So that's always a conversation I find that comes up at some point. And you know, we do test patches on people to let them know what it would really feel like, and can they manage it and things like that.
It is funny, however, because we have men, women of all ages and ethnicities, and desire of what they're hoping the outcome will be. But when it comes to like a pain factor, I can sometimes tell they want to ask, especially these big muscle bound guys. They want to ask, but they're like, look at me, I don't want to ask. So I help them. I'm like, listen, it's going to be a prick.
Yeah.
Thousands of pricks. We call it, it's an annoying prick, but it's not painful. And so it's just the whole strategy. It is like driving a car and driving a truck. The truck is traditional tattooing, which is deep, dragging, pressure, stretching, very more aggressive. When scalp micropigmentation has a finesse and a fine entry point and exit point that's very quick and delicate but effective.
Right.
And so for a lot of our clients, which we do love, I'd say about 95% of our clients ask us, I want natural, age appropriate, just building that gap that I don't have, just build that bridge. And then we have about that 5% that's like, I want youthful, I want angular, I want shaped, line it up.
Just left the barber.
But even with that, even with that,
and crisp,
even with that, there's still a finesse and a delicate nature that you can't have somebody leave with a black helmet. And we've completed over 700 men and women in 5 years, and never has anybody left with a black helmet. That will never happen. And so they are trusting their whole image to mainly Yvette's hands. And that's like, a big thing.
And
it's
the
a big
thing is,
to
too,
take
people
on.
come from all different, there's doctors and there's lawyers and there's construction workers and there's, you know, people that are speaking in front of auditoriums and pastors and all different types of people doing different types of things. And it really does apply for every type of individual because we customize to their look and their needs and their aesthetic. So whatever, you know, it's not a cookie cutter approach.
I think that's incredible.
So
it's not like just a one-stop shop kind of cookie cutter, like you said. That's good. That's really good.
You have to really like look at their features. You have to think about their occupation and their lifestyle and all those kinds of things, right? Age, that is a huge factor because somebody who's 25, who's balding at 25, I guarantee that by 45, it's probably going to be a little less, right? So how do we manage that throughout the years, right? If somebody is, say, going gray or how do we manage that, right? There's all these questions that we have to take the time, and our consultations are often an hour in length, talking with somebody to make sure that they are fully informed. Because I feel like if you're not informed, you can't make a decision like this.
Do you do eyebrows too?
I do not. No.
Okay.
We just do. We just work on the scalp.
Got you.
No other cosmetic.
Okay, cool.
That's a really good point, though,
question,
because
especially because you brought it up at the beginning too. I know you said it's kind of how it kind of sparked the idea.
That's
I had a girl that.
So I didn't know if you took
really
that on as or not.
Right.
No. It's when you're approaching a male market that already has the stigma of I can do something about my looks and polish it off. That's already a hurdle for a male to jump through. When you introduce other cosmetic strategies that may not necessarily be needed for a male market, they're kind of like, well, I just want to go to a specialist. And that's why, you know, in building our future growth, it will always be to expanding our talent, with maybe other artists, but it will never venture from bringing in other business avenues that aren't solely for scalp micropigmentation.
Like no other pillars outside of the core of what we do.
Very well thought out. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, we would rather expand deep than expand shallow and wide. So it works nicely, and our clientele appreciate it. They're like, it's such a beautiful relationship to have somebody walk in your doors and go, I watched all your YouTube videos.
Yeah,
I looked through your entire Instagram.
Yeah.
And they come back and they in a consultation, they're like, remember that guy, he was Hispanic or he had like some really brown skin? That's what I want to look like.
You're like, well, you did watch. Yeah.
You know, or you know, we talk about how scalp micropigmentation fades over the years.
Like the evolution of how it
and they're like,
heals.
I watched that YouTube video. Yeah, I know that. I'm cool with that. And so so it's really nice because if this is a big decision, as it should be, how informed are you coming to us, and how much more informed are you when you leave?
Right.
And that's why we aren't professional speakers in this arena and in our YouTube clips, but we just want to make sure that the message is coming from the horse's mouth of people that have worked on hundreds of clients now and have seen it all. And we have seen it all. She's worked on clients that from burn victims to full alopecia universalis, to
scars.
Very hair transplant scars. Some are really outstanding.
So it's not just a self-confidence issue. There's actual, I don't know if the repair is the right word, but there's damage has been done.
For sure, for sure. And there's like you make the decision to say have a hair transplant, and that's great, and that's valid, and that's a solution for many. But in the end, you are going to inevitably be left with some sort of scar. So how do we manage that for you? What do you have to do to maintain your hair level so that you don't see the scar? There's so many things and pillars to one decision. What is your lifestyle going to look like once you get this done? Right? It's not just like you come in for 3 hours and you're done. You don't have to maintain it and lotion it and wash it with certain things. There's so many other things that go into it. And so it's important that what that case is, when they come into the doors, they know that what we're telling them in terms of how we're going to treat it and long-term healing, they feel informed. They know, okay, I got this. I'm going to look good now, but I'm going to look good in 10 years too if I take care of it, right? So that's a huge thing is we want people to look great when they leave our studio, but we want them to look good in years to come as well. It's not a quick fix, right?
They're not a Band-Aid fix.
No.
No. And especially when there's already so many gentlemen that are trying to fix it themselves, a DUI of their hair, and it can be so many different things. DIY. What did I say?
I have to think for a second.
DIY? DIY. Okay. Yeah. But it's just, that's the thing. It's like they're using a ton of fibers, and we've seen a couple gentlemen with magnificent artistry on how to use fibers to conceal thinning hair, and the burden that we can take off their shoulders, or the gentleman that has worn a hair system for 15 or 20 years and their kids don't even know, and they're like, I'm done with the glue, I'm done with the having to upkeep and wash it and hide it, when they're like, just do what you do well and let this burden be taken off. This is not slighting any hair loss strategy that you want to pursue, but for the gentleman that we get to help, those are the changes. Those are the monumental changes of easing a burden in some man's life from, again, the simplicity of just putting small follicles on somebody's skin.
Right.
That's what's the amazing part of it.
Yeah. And it really is amazing. Like Matt and I have both seen the pictures before and afters. I'm just blown away. Like the quality of work that you both do is fantastic. But it makes me think of something like how many sit on the fence for how long, and how emotional is it for people to make that decision, like you were just talking about. How many people walk around with something that maybe their partner or family member doesn't know, and what kind of a burden is that on them, right? For sure. And I think that there are so many people that sit on the fence for a long time. And we do have people that come in for, say, a consultation, and then we don't hear from them for a year and a half, and then they're like, now I'm ready.
right? Because it sometimes takes that amount of time to make a decision, to wrap your head around it, to feel comfortable. In the end, as long as they feel informed and they come back to us because they know that they're going to be looked after, that's the most important thing, because they really do. People turn into like family, you know.
Oh, I can imagine.
And it's just we get photos sent us, like Christmas photos and weddings. People get married and wedding photos, and they send it to us like a year later, and I'm like, oh my god,
it must be very fulfilling.
Yeah, they sent it to us out of all people.
We get text messages, you know, happy holidays, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, and I'm like,
and so you're not just a client, and there was an impact. You have a ton of family and friends, and you've taken the time to send us happy holidays or happy New Year's type of thing.
I can relate on a small level. I do contracting, right? So I've done their kitchens before, and like I've become like, I'm in these people's houses for like 8 weeks at a time. They'll be making me breakfast, and then you know, and then they'll send me a Christmas picture and their stuff. So like I can kind of relate on that level. I do have a question. Does anyone ever come to you where you would turn them down for maybe you think they're not at a point where they need it, or I don't know. Have you ever had to say no to someone?
Yes.
You don't have to say who or why, but like you've turned people down for whatever reason?
Absolutely.
It's a good question.
It is a very good question. There are, I wouldn't say many, but there's a good amount of people that come prematurely. Where
that shows your honesty too, because you could just take the money and right?
Yeah, no. If they're not at a stage where they need it, then no. Like if you have a decent amount and you want to live it out until you really can't live it out anymore, or when you're at a point where you feel, you know, we also have to take into consideration the condition of somebody's scalp, right? There's a lot of skin conditions out there. They need to go to a dermatologist maybe if there's an issue that we're concerned about. We don't touch anything that looks concerning. So there's lots of things we have to consider, and we send many people away for sure.
It's a funny business strategy of, you're sending me away? When we have to tell people. So some examples, we have a young 20-year-old man that, yes, he's thinning, but the height of his hair loss genetically hasn't sparked yet. But you can kind of see the writing on the wall. It's going to be coming. But as Yvette said, it's not time yet. So those would be kind of some gentlemen's. Or some other examples are females that have had children or have been under a lot of stress, that thinning of hair is coming along, or genetics is playing a part. And they're fully aware of that lack of density and thickness. And sometimes we've had females come in and they're like, you know, I think I need it here and here. And sometimes they just need to have an outsider say, you look fantastic. You don't need to do this right now. And they look perplexed. They do. They're like, well, I'm here to hire you and do this business. Why are we not saying yes? And it's like, because our pillars are experience, ethics, and artistry. And before we even began training, we wanted to build the experience. From day one, we were taught and we embraced the ethics. And then the artistry is just the passion that we get to do to help these examples come to fruition or completion, right? So
that is foundational. Like if you're gonna run any kind of business or practice, that is foundational. And like I admire that so much, because we need more of that in any segment of business, that you have real ethics behind what you're doing, especially in something like this where it's affecting someone, the way they look, the way they feel. Like it's life-changing.
It is, absolutely.
Right? So
it really
I was just gonna say, like, this is pretty eye-opening for me in the sense of like I didn't really take a second to think about how personal this might be for some people, and I can relate on a different. I wore since age 6, grade 1. I wore glasses till grade 11. From grade 11 until I was mid-20s, I wore contacts, which basically like gave me a blinking problem. If you haven't already noticed, my eyes are constantly dry, and I do construction, so it's like my eyesight to me.
I just thought you were getting emotional.
My eyesight, a bit of both. But my eyesight to me has always been a major issue, from glasses to contacts. And when I finally got my LASIK, my laser surgery, like from the perspective of your clients, like life-changing, man. Like I feel like I can see through walls now. I don't have to pack stupid cartridges of contacts every time I go on a plane. I don't got to worry about falling asleep with contacts in my eyes. They would be like moving around in my eye if I wore them for too long, driving on the 401. So for me, like, it was liberating to let go of that. So I mean, same thing. I mean, this is something they might be holding on to for, who knows, decades.
For sure.
Right? So like that it's like a breath of fresh air, right?
Yeah. No, that's a really good analogy, actually. Yeah.
And even for our brand, like we always have the client allow us to share their pictures. Of course, that's bottom line. If you want to share, you can be there.
Yeah.
But what's nice that has happened of this trend setting is that they want to share their picture because they want to say, I'm an average guy and I just wanted to look better. And if my experience of moving through that stigma or the concern or the worry of like, what will it look like, and then the outcome is so pleasing, they can then say, listen, I'm an average guy. I did it. And then the next guy pays it forward for the next guy.
Yeah.
And that in all of our imagery and all of our branding, we have never needed to hide a face.
Right.
Okay, look at my hair.
You shouldn't be ashamed.
But you need to have that because we're relieving you from that. Take off that hat. Don't live in that hat. You can take it off and feel free. And again, it's just from building these follicle impressions. But that is something that we always.
And of course, we always get written permission, and there are those that still wish to be confidential, and we respect whatever position. But we're witnessing more often than not that because people in the past have been there willing proudly to show their face, more men are also like, you know what, I'm proud too.
Yeah.
There's more of that as opposed to the alternative of men saying, I prefer to not show my face at all. And there are those which I completely respect.
understand.
Do we have your permission to release this episode?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
No, I get it though. I get it.
You get two. And we're finding more of the willing to just like let it go and be like, this is just me and I feel good.
Or they get it and they appreciate the guys that do share and they're just like, I'm not one of those guys.
And that's okay
but
too,
I thank those guys, and it really is. They do. They're like, no, it was that guy that helped me go, okay, you know what?
Yeah, because
you're my style, you're my ethnicity,
Yes.
you're my language, my culture, whatever.
I see
and they're
myself
like,
in you.
I can do it because of
relate.
that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know guys have this stigma to be like this stoic. I know.
That's right.
We have a friend, Vicky. She was on here. She's a nurse. I think I was telling you about it. She owns her own medicinal spa. She does a lot of Botox and fillers.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it is geared towards females.
Yes.
It is. But when she built her office, she wanted to make it seem like it wasn't just like rainbows and horses and roses.
That's right. Yeah.
It's like I go there to do I do like intravenous stuff. She does like IV IV tips and stuff.
Yeah.
But she wanted to make sure that men didn't feel weird going out of place to go there, right? So like it does have a bit of a female vibe, but it's not like scary for a guy to walk in there. Like me and a few of my buddies go, Lorenzo's, he may want to check it out, but you want to have that healthy balance where you're not just like, because I mean, you close off a whole market to yourself.
That's right.
But you also don't want to make someone feel
it has to be
insecure.
neutral ground for everybody. For sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
One thing I want to ask too is like geographically, from where it started to where you guys are at now, give us a little bit of a story behind that. Like where clients coming from.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, we sort of thought that it was going to be contained in the Durham
region.
Right.
Even smaller than that when we first started. We thought, and it has certainly expanded to
international.
I mean,
I find that amazing.
Honestly,
it gives me chills actually, to be honest.
It's Yvette's totally right. Like we're like, okay, this is where we live. There's a ton of bald guys. I see them all over the place. That's going to be our market, and I can't say it exploded and there was this one thing that changed everything. It has been an enjoyable grind each and every month and year that's passed. But when doing marketing and we're doing Google ads and all these types of things to provide awareness on those that are searching, it just grew within Ontario. And Brampton was far at one point. Oh, we got somebody from Brampton that we can help out. Barrie, that was farther. And then it just went to Ottawa. And then it went to Montreal. And then the day that our first client says, I'm flying from Thunder Bay. And we're like, you're flying?
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, really? Are you sure about that?
and we're like, you do know you have to come to us about three times. Maybe 4 times. And he's, no problem. I feel comfortable with you guys. That's important to me. And so Thunder Bay was the first one. And then you were taken back and feeling blessed when somebody's like, I'm going to fly from Buffalo or Chicago or drive from Michigan or come for training from Pennsylvania.
And the thing is too, is that we're also like, we are closely networked with many people in this industry from all over the globe. So when people do contact us from wherever they might
Very
be,
true.
we always say, listen, there might be an artist closer to you that is great. We always suggest.
But they still
decide, I see myself in you guys and I see what work you do and we want you.
But it's funny that you
So at
asked
the end of the
before,
day,
right? And you're like, so why would somebody come to you, or why would they not go to somebody else? And again, the gentleman that came from Alberta flying,
Crazy.
and
It's incredible.
And we have a very close and extremely talented colleague in Alberta, and we said, listen, contact this guy, he's going to help you out. And he said, you know what, I'm thank you for doing that, but it's okay, I want to come to you guys. It's still the same thing of like not telling somebody you don't need it right now. It's like we're turning away business, but we're not. We're just trying to make it easy and ready for people.
Do you have like video consultations with these people? Is that how they are?
It's
Okay. Because
virtual,
I mean, they can
yeah.
grow to know you through word of mouth and stuff, but I mean, to get that intimate, I mean, they gotta meet you to somebody. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
we
cool.
do
Yeah,
virtual.
I mean, I'm sure you guys already know this, but like it's incredible that this is happening. Like honestly, I find it so amazing. I find it as an entrepreneur, like I said, I'm not kidding. It gives me chills just because I know how tough it is to build a business and to, from nothing essentially. I mean, in hopes that it grows, and like going international quite literally is crazy. So hats off to you guys.
Thank
Yeah.
you for that.
But for your audience that listens and that they resonate with all your conversations and your assistive kind of advice on things, this doesn't happen by accident.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Like
work.
she is the main talent. I am the structural business, and we partner and intertwine in a lot of the things. I do some of the art, she does some of the business. But it doesn't happen. Like the conversation we're having are accolades and opportunities and taking risk on what can actually happen, right?
Yes, that's right.
Our name,
Exactly,
That's right.
And so, we hedge our bets on, should we buy a commercial property, or should we,
You bet on yourself and you bet on your
That's
business.
right. And do you want to expand? Do you not want to? And the thing is, I look at our first 2 years, and especially, it's really tough, right? Especially because it takes a toll on your family, on your relationship,
absolutely.
and
Your own self-doubt.
Yes, your own. What are we doing? Maybe, but at the end of the day, our passion for it trumped everything. Our morals and our ethics and our drive and our working together really did supersede anything that doubted us.
I love it.
And
Our clients do.
I think our goals were also not monumental. Where
No.
we didn't feel like we don't want to let each other down, so let's just get one client
that's
a month.
right, and it was like
Right?
little,
And that was it. That was big
let's
enough.
That's right, and then every little goal to okay, what's kind of our next and it was never monumental. It was very
But that's
baby
huge.
steps.
Undue pressure.
Under pressure,
That's
right?
huge. We always say like overnight success happens over years, and again, a lot of people give up after 3 months because they can't wait for that delayed gratification, right?
Totally.
It's like, 3 months, what the hell am I
Absolutely.
doing? Let's go to the next business, next job, right? So you were patient. You understood that it took time, and that's again, you bet on yourself, you bet on your business, and you invested that time into the business, right?
And the people that are just like our clients that are so happy, it never ever gets old. Like
I can imagine.
when we get a hug at the end, and we get
can only
tears,
imagine.
and we
Oh,
get we never feel like, okay, I'm done now. I feel like
It's fulfillment.
Yes.
I always
And then
say, I always say,
Fantastic.
there's happiness, but there's a level above happiness, and that's fulfillment.
Yeah.
Like you can be happy, you can be a billionaire, you can have a good relationship, you can have all this stuff and whatever, but are you being fulfilled is that next level? And I don't feel like even mega wealthy people don't get that level sometimes.
Yeah, it's true.
And so, and like back to those goals, I mean, it was, let's just do quality. Let's focus on quality. Let's be a boutique studio
One
that
happy
masters
person
one
at a
client
time.
at a time,
Yeah.
and doesn't need to rush it, and doesn't need to make it an assembly line to say I'm successful. But then you have those people that are like, that studio, that clinic, that person really jacked me up. I don't look the way I wanted to. We are a slow but mighty burn that I feel works well with not a quantity but a quality factor, and it comes down to a trend setting even in our Google reviews, which again, when completing up to 700 clients and having like 175 five-star reviews, and they're not nice people, I'm happy, 5-star.
Yeah.
It's, here's my story.
Yes.
Like
Here's
a
what I've
novel.
gone through. And so the
That's what I'm
reviews,
seeing online.
it's set a trend for the next guy or girl to go, when I'm ready to write a review, I actually have to sit down and experience what I went through how it went during, how it looks after, and it's 5 stars with stories. They're biographies
like
of our
emotions
clients.
are out there. It's like it's so humbling. It's so special.
And that was never purposeful. That was from one guy sharing to another going, you know what, I will write a review,
Right.
and here's my story.
Right.
And that snowballed to the benefit of making other gentlemen or other females as well feel comfortable going, oh, there is a female in the reviews. Oh, there is a guy of this ethnicity or this background I relate with. It's that's all a blessing.
For sure. You know what? Touching on, like, you know, people come from so many far reaches. There's a reason. In business, you have to differentiate yourself from the competition, and there's a defining factor in any industry. But for what you guys are doing, it's so evident. It's so evident why you guys stand out as different, and you said it right. It's quality, that it's going to be long lasting. People see that, and that's why people are coming from far reaches. And that, I'm picking up on that. Like I was reading the client experiences, I was like, holy cow, man.
Thank you.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah, you're clearly providing something of value.
Definitely.
And that's, I mean, whether you start out to do it for money or a passion, like if you're giving value, the money follows regardless. And like, I mean, when we're talking about business, you know, we do bring on businesses on this show. So we do touch on the monetary side of things. It's a no bullshit business that you guys are into, right? It's you're helping people, you're changing lives. And, you know, I always say you impact millions, you make millions, right? And you're obviously, everyone who comes to you, you're impacting in a positive way. And I can tell personally that, like, the stories you guys are telling me is, these are true feelings. It's not just like, you're not reading off a script here. These are real experiences that you have both experienced together and individually. And that's what drives you to keep going. So it's cool. I can feel that. It's awesome.
I'm glad.
I think one of the things too that we always ask guests on the show is 2 main things, but one I'll ask this time is any risks that you guys took along the way in building a business, or is there any hurdles you guys have to overcome and over the years as you're building this?
Mistakes, things, you know, that you would have
you would
have done differently.
Yeah, you can take it.
So we got some really good advice really early in our business.
That was good.
Of a gentleman that trusted us, who entrepreneurial background, and he said, listen, when you're developing the business, don't put the business in somebody else's hands for that person to do everything for you. He said, it will be good for you to, as you were kind of mentioning prior to the show, having different parties or members that you're managing, but that's their sole focus. So a social media person, which again, we do a lot of it, but we also have a talented graphic designer that helps us create that brand and that image that we want to execute. But then we have our accountant, or then we have a bookkeeper and lawyers and videographers and photographers, and they're all in different pockets, and we get to create relationships with all of them. And if one of those chips fall, it doesn't destroy the entire business, and we can find another to fill that position. And that's just said with respect, but having one party manage that, we've seen a lot of businesses outside of our arena that are like, that's a big brand, I'm going to go for them for everything. And then there's a falling out, or there's not an understanding, or there's not something, and then they have to start fully back to scratch. So I think that was a great piece of advice.
Always have different, don't have one person that can do it all.
No, you have to delegate, you have to outsource, because there's always someone better than you at whether it's accounting or social media or whatever. So do what you're really, really, really good at, because you'll burn the candle on both ends. First of all, you will burnout is a real thing if you're trying to do too much at once, and you want to build a machine, right? Like, you want outsourcing is again a form of leveraging your network. If you have someone who's really good as an accountant, use that accountant. You know, take the work off your plate so you can focus on what you're good at.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So you build a machine. Essentially, and any business any business.
Yeah.
So that was wise. Some wisdom that you guys had right from the outset, and smart too. Any advice that you would give if someone was to start out on a business? If they're watching this show and they see Trevor and Yvette, like, any advice that you could share?
Even in a different industry, like, is it worth the risk in your opinion?
Here's the thing. Everything should start with a passion, and that passion should bring you to longevity. But if you don't manage your business well, that 3 month, I'm tired now, I can't sustain my passion because you're not structuring the business well. That part, you're running that rat wheel just in a different way. You're having a full-time job and you're doing your passion on the side, and you want to turn that passion into your full-time job. But if you're not managing your business properly, it's not going to change.
Yeah, being busy and being productive are two different things.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
A
right.
lot of people are busy, but not everyone's productive.
Yeah, and I think also to give yourself, a grace period of like, there was times where you're working, like Trevor had said, before I was just doing this, I was doing full time, and I was doing this on the side on the weekends because I loved it and it was fun and I enjoyed it. But then when that starts to turn into your everyday, you can't sustain that pace. Right? So let it get to the point, we feel like, let it reach the point where you have no choice but to just do what you're passionate about.
I love that.
Because it came to a head, as they say. It came to a point where there was no choice.
No choice.
I could not do a full-time and this. I tried and we tried.
I've never heard it put that way. I like that.
Then it's like, now I have to just do this because it's dictating my constant attention and need. And so it was an easier transition because I knew that we were moving into a consistently successful level. But it takes so much time to get there until you're like, I can't do both, or I can't do more than just this. And at that point, then decisions have to be made. Right?
And the fear sets in.
And I feel like it still sets in. Fear is
same.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
No matter how long I've been in business, I've been doing
Right?
contracting
Very
for
real.
10 years, and I'm like, anytime anything gets slow, I'm like, am I doing this wrong?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I think we're the same, like the ebbs and flows of, now it's Christmas and maybe it's a bit quieter, and now it's summer and
It
people
happens
are
every
way
year,
more
but I
every
still-
year.
I know.
Right? You still think
I'm not alone.
Yes.
That's right.
You still think, well, what if? Like, what if this is the year everything is going to crumble?
Yeah.
What if, right?
Yeah.
But I think a little bit of that fear also drives.
Oh yeah, you fear. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
But still stand on your mission and stand
Yes.
on your morals, and
That
don't
has to
just
drive
because
everything, for
business
sure.
gets slow doesn't mean you take on that person that doesn't need it, which you would have said no to before.
Absolutely.
Still
Your
stand
morals
on
have
that
to-
ethics.
For sure.
Good piece of
because
advice.
that desperation of, well, I need the business.
People will sense it, I think, too.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
The
100%
genuinity
they will.
or not.
Yeah.
And
So.
just to speak honestly, I've done that in the past.
Yeah.
Many years ago when I started out, I remember there were times of like, I should take this job. And you pull your hair out.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's true.
So it's not, no, I really appreciate that sound wisdom for sure.
Yeah. So.
Before we wrap up, where can people reach out to you, and is there a preferred method? If they, truthfully, I might come see you guys, man. I feel like I'm.
I was starting to think, am I there yet? I'm not sure.
Come get you.
We'll talk, Jill. We'll talk.
Yeah, but do you prefer Instagram? Do you have a website, or what is it?
Honestly, you can visit us on YouTube simply at Ink to Scalp. You can visit us on Instagram at Ink to Scalp.
The number 2.
The number 2, yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Ink to Scalp. The name of the business is very self-explanatory. We are putting ink to your scalp.
Got it.
And so that hit us up one day, and we're like, okay, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then just our website at inktoscalp.com. All those platforms are extremely informative, giving you a lot of detail. It's not just a platform of before and afters, but it's educational pieces that we give to our clients without even having to meet or chat with us. Here's the info you might need because you
Start
be more
there.
informed.
Yeah.
Chat with us when you feel comfortable.
And Instagram as well, very resourceful.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of before and afters, a lot of testimonials, a lot of.
That's huge.
You can see, our work and stuff being done. So those are all great platforms. But we'll connect back.
One
any
question
method.
before we wrap up. I know I said that, but did we touch on how did you get your first few clients? Did we even get into that with the marketing? Did you pay for marketing?
So no.
Yeah.
I wanted to, yeah. How did you?
Wait, before we wrap up, we gotta
Yeah.
Sure. So it comes with your. There was a neighbor who was just as bald as me that we kindly said, "Hey, this beautiful young lady is now trained.
Okay.
Can we put dots on your head, impressions on your head?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And from that experience of then sharing to community groups within Facebook, which is always dangerous when you're wanting to put a brand out or a business and saying you're doing what to our husbands or our boyfriends or our dads or our brothers. That is a concern. But again, with having the right messaging and the right wording to say, if you could change it, would you? A lot of men or wives call us at 10 o'clock at night. My husband really needs this.
Really?
Can he come in for a consultation? Wow. He doesn't want to call, but I'm telling you, he really needs it. Those types of things happened. And so it was growing organically, then building the website to have stronger SEO development.
So you were reaching out to people originally from when
Yes.
I love that though, because like we were just talking about it beforehand, how you have to take action to make things happen, right? Like people like, you can read all the books and watch all the videos and YouTube things about how to be the best businessman in the world. But like, if you're sitting on your couch, like we always say, knowledge is not power, execution is power. Knowledge is just knowledge.
We did it. Like we put the flyers.
Yeah, exactly.
You
executed.
We got the doorknobs and we did the walk around.
I love this story. I love the story.
You have to be very careful to how you approach people.
For sure.
Right? Because, you know, it's a sensitive topic. So I remember we were at the gym one time and Trevor in the men's lockers, if he saw men at their lockers after they'd closed the door, he would drop in our business cards into
this is
their
amazing.
locker.
This is like such an
so that when they open it, but they don't necessarily know, because you don't want to approach them and say, hey, I can help you out with that, because that might be a little too invasive. But if it just appears, right? We did the door-to-door thing and hanging on the doors. And
this is an organic and very well-deserved success story. And I'm glad I met you guys. I feel like you're both my friends now. Definitely reach out to them. Ink2 Scalp. And stick around for the Daily Dose, guys. We will see you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
That was incredible.
Thank you.